Welcome to today's live stream. I'm going to get started in a minute. I just need to let everybody know that the live stream is going on other social media, and I'll get started in a minute. Okay, everybody on social media now knows that the live stream is getting ready to start, and I'm going to go into today's topic. And today's topic is the true definition of a simp. Now, I've seen a lot of guys throw this term simp around, and they're using the term completely out of context. And the fact that they're using the term completely out of context is quite troubling to me because it shows that they are just using this word without ever doing any sort of research to learn what the definition of a simp is. Now, the definition of a simp is a man who puts himself in a submissive position under women in the hopes of winning them over. And this is taken from my own book, Stop Simping: Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance. And that's the definition of a simp. And you can pick up my book, Stop Simping: Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle formats. And that's right on the first page. Stop Simping: Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance. I'm leaving a link to it in the chat. And again, the definition of a simp is a man who puts himself in a submissive position under women in the hopes of winning them over. So your simp is a guy who never asks what a woman has to offer him in a relationship, but insists on giving her everything in the hopes that she'll be happy with him. And a simp is a guy who goes out of his way to spend money on women in the hopes of getting their attention and approval. So your simp is the guy who goes out of his way to give women all of this favor, attention, and approval, and he looks to submit to the woman in order to try to get that attention and approval from her. And many guys out here, they don't understand that definition, and they take things that people do out of context and then say that that's simping. For example, you'll have guys out here who will say paying a woman a compliment is simping, No, paying a woman a compliment is not simping at all. And it's just a man showing his respect and appreciation for a woman he finds attractive. Now, that's all a compliment is. And a lot of guys, they'll take it, oh, that's simping, but it's not simping at all to pay a woman a compliment if you are not looking for anything to be going along with it. But simps do pay compliments to women, but when they do it, it's in the hopes of getting attention and approval. But most guys who just pay a woman a compliment, that's not simping at all because they're not looking for anything. But the simp, he's a guy, he looks for things, and that's what makes it simping. And him looking to get that attention and approval from those women for going out here and paying that compliment. And that's part of the covert contract that your simp has when he goes out here. He's always looking to give something in order to get something. And that just shows how completely dishonest your simp is, because he's only doing things in the hopes of getting something in return. A regular guy out here who is just paying a compliment, he's just doing that because he may just like the way that woman looks, or he may just like her ideas about something. And he's doing that out of with no covert contract or any sort of ulterior motive. It's just a straight line. But the simp, he does things just to get something in return. And he's hoping that if he says something nice to the woman, then the woman will think favorably of him. And again, that just shows how weak these guys are, because they aren't being honest and upfront when they go out here and they look to approach women. So they often start out in the beginning being dishonest. And because they start out in the beginning being dishonest, this is why they wind up attracting a lot of these female predators out here. And those female predators wind up taking advantage of these guys, because a lot of times these guys are so busy looking to pander to women that they don't see this woman for who she truly is. So he's looking to do things, again, based on ulterior motives, and he's looking to do things to pander to people. And when he goes out here and panders to women, again, it puts him in a position of weakness. I couldn't get the Amazon link up, but the Smashwords link is going to be in the chat. So if you want to pick up Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance, the second edition on Smashwords, you can pick it up there. You can also pick it up on the iBookstore. I'm pondering putting it on Google Play next, depending on how the Man Crisis does. But we'll see in the future, because I'm getting ready to try to do some expanded things that's related to the books out here. And again, this simping is something that I really want to get a clear definition out here for everyone, because I'm seeing people taking this word and they're using it completely out of context. And it seems these days you have people out here using the term simp to talk to attack someone who disagrees with them, or someone who presents a different opinion of them. And that's taking the impact out of the word simp. So when you take the impact out of the word, then it doesn't resonate with people, because you're using this word completely out of context and you're just using it in the wrong way. What's going on, Big Money Iceman, D Rock Den, Ken Eyes Open, Marley Covington, D Woodward, Don Ranagar, Fidian, glad to see you here, Christopher Clipper. And yeah, when you take the words out of context, it doesn't resonate. And when you take the words and you don't use them properly, it just doesn't have the impact. And I'm seeing a lot of guys, they take the word simp out of context. They use it as a tool to make either ad hominem attacks to attack somebody personally, or they take it and they try to use it as shaming language to silence another man for expressing a difference of opinion. And that's not what the word simp is meant to be. Again, originally, the term simp comes from the term simpleton, and it's a man who really doesn't really know much. And again, he doesn't know much because he didn't really get the life skills that, yeah, Christopher, it is short for simpleton. That's the original term for it. And again, it comes from a guy not really understanding much about life. And the simp is a guy who doesn't understand much about life because a lot of these guys, again, they come from that submissive position that where they put themselves under women because that was modeled for them in the household they grew up in. And because these guys grew up in female-headed households where the mother was the authority figure and the leader of the household, or they grew up in a home with a beta male father in most cases, this is why these men believe that they have to pander to women because they either had to pander to women to get their needs met at a young age, or they had saw their father pandering to women in order to get the attention of those women, and they learned that this is the way to get their needs met by women. So this behavior they've learned over their childhood, and now they're trying to enter adolescence and adulthood with it. And it's something that they've learned and they continue to do. Now, most boys, again, they start out with a simp phase as they're in puberty, as they're trying to learn how to go out here and have relationships with the opposite sex. However, as they grow older, they grow out of the simp phase. Usually they have one relationship that doesn't work. They have something that shows them that this approach doesn't work. And eventually what they do is they learn how things work as related to approaching women and how to have a effective communication with women. Because what they do is they learn is that submissiveness doesn't really work because in order to have a healthy relationship with a woman, you have to have respect. And if that woman does not respect you, then she will not offer you any cooperation in the relationship, and she will not be able to connect with you in a way where you can have things like the intangible of love or the intangibles related to building a healthy relationship. So most teenage boys, eventually they come out of the simp phase, the puppy love phase, and they start learning how to approach women their own age like a man. And they come out of that eventually, usually by their late teens, early 20s. Unfortunately, a lot of guys who come from the single mother households or the household with the beta male father, they're still looking to submit to women, and they think that submitting to women will benefit them. However, when you come from a submissive position, you are coming from a position of weakness. And a position of weakness is something a man does not want to come from when he's out here trying to have relationships or attempts at trying to connect with women, because when you come from a position of weakness, you are not going to be a man that women will go out here and respect. And when the whole thing is, when you have any sort of going out here to pursue relationships with women, the intangible of respect is the most important intangible, because without the intangible of respect, you cannot build any sort of relationship at all. Because if you don't have the intangible of respect, you have nothing. And the simp, he thinks because he's getting the attention from a woman liking him that he's going somewhere. However, when you have like, all it is a feeling, and a feeling is not much to a woman because women are primarily emotional and they live for their feelings, and their feelings are arbitrary. So that's what the simp does not really understand. He'll sit there and think like is something, but like is nothing for a woman. The thing a man has to look for is respect, and respect shows that she values you on the same level that she values yourself, and she values you enough that she sees you as a man she wants to follow, and that she respects your leadership and authority, that she sees you as someone that she can trust as a partner. So these are things that your most guys out here who are talking about simps don't really understand about relationships overall. And a lot of these guys, they use this term again out of complete context because they have heard it somewhere, but they don't really understand the original terminology or what it really means to be a simp. So you'll see these guys out here, they use it as an ad hominem attack when a guy comes out here and he makes sometimes a video talking about women. And it doesn't mean that that guy is a simp. It means that that man may be showing respect for a woman who is in his life. And it means he may show respect for somebody who he's very close to. So he's not simping by saying something positive about a woman. It's only simping when he wants to try to get something in return. And a guy who's out here and he's just having a basic conversation with a woman, he's not simping if he's having a conversation with that woman. He's basically just communicating with that woman. But you'll have some of these guys, like these pickup artists and some of these fake men who are going their own way, they'll sit there and call this guy a simp, all because he has said something positive about a woman, or he said positive things as related to women. And he's taking the whole term out of context because he's possibly either read it online or he's seen it in a YouTube video. And these guys will sit there and they'll take these terms, not know what they are, not do the research on them, not really take that critical examination of them, and they'll use them to call a guy who's just talking to a woman a simp. They'll use them to talk about how a guy who's making a compliment to a woman is a simp. They'll use them to talk about how a guy who praises some women are simps. And they'll make these statements not understanding that a simp, again, is a guy who, again, puts himself in a submissive position under women. And he'll say that, and that's what a simp all he is. He's just a guy who puts himself under women. He panders to women, and he looks to get attention and approval from women. And that's all a simp is. And he will go out here and he will participate in behaviors to get those women's attention and approval. And that's all a simp is. But you'll have guys, they will take the whole term out of context because they're just coming from feelings. And a lot of guys from the single mother households, these guys, they come from their feelings and they don't really understand the whole context of simping. And I'll give you some examples of simping to show you the definition of a simp. And one of them was the Gillette CEO. This guy, I forget, Gary Coombe, the CEO of Gillette. This man was simping because he was pandering to feminists, putting the company in a submissive position to pander to the feminists with this ad talking about his support for the Me Too movement and for this so-called anti-bullying. So he makes this ad to try to win the favor and attention of these feminists at the expense of men, talking about how he's supporting the Me Too movement, how he's supporting feminism, and how he's supporting all of these things. And he's doing this at the expense of his company and his company's reputation. So your Gary Coombe thinks it's okay for his company to take a loss, all because he wanted to get some brownie points with a group of feminists. So your Gary Coombe is a corporate simp, and he's a simp because he went out here and decided to put his company in a submissive position under the feminists in order to try to get their attention and approval. And he did not think about the intangibles as related to his company. And he didn't think about his company's brand, his company's reputation, his company's core audience, which was primarily men. And he was willing to put all of that at risk and alienate all of those guys, all because he wanted to win the favor and attention of a group of feminists who did not care about him, did not regard him, and did not respect him. And that was a textbook case of a corporate simp. And when it comes down to the simp, oftentimes he's willing to put his intangibles at risk, all because he believes he's going to get the attention and approval of a woman that he likes. So what he did was a case of simping, and that case of simping showed what a man can lose as related to simping, because he cost his company $8 billion, and he cost them their reputation, and he cost them the opportunity to reach not only the millennial male customers, but he cost them all of these other older male customers, all because he wanted to go out here and try to get the attention and approval of women. Now, another example of simping is the editor-in-chief at Marvel Comics, who decided after this writer called him a racist to go out here and hire that exact same woman. And this is another case of simping because it shows how little respect this man had for himself, because for a woman to disrespect you by saying you are a racist, and then for this individual to go out here and hire the exact same woman, that is simping, because this woman already shows she has no respect for you. And then you're going to put yourself in a submissive position in order to get her on the job. And that's again, coming from a position of weakness. And that's another major trait of your simps, is that a lot of these guys, they come into these things from submission, thinking that if they appear submissive to the woman, it will make him appear to be more attractive. But what they don't understand is that if you come at a woman from a submissive position, you are going to appear to be less attractive. And the reason why you are going to appear less attractive is because the woman is looking for a man to follow the lead of. And when she sees a man looking to follow her lead, it's something that says to her that this man will be a weak man. This man will not be able to protect her. This man will not be able to provide for her. And this man will not be able to set a tone and a direction for the relationship. And when women look at simps, they see a man that they don't have any, again, respect for, because they're looking for a man to be in a leader position, and she doesn't want to be in the leader position. So when she was looking at this guy who is begging to her, pandering to her, and looking to get her attention and approval by kissing up to her, she sees him as someone who will not be someone who is willing to take the lead as related to the relationship. And because he's not taking the lead, this is why she gets turned off by him. And the reason why she's turned off by him again is because this guy is putting himself in a follower position. And when it comes down to women in many cases don't want to be the leader in the relationship, because it's very frustrating and overwhelming for them to have to make all the decisions in a relationship. it's very frustrating and overwhelming to have to take responsibility in the relationship. And a lot of times they don't want to take responsibility for things in the relationship. And when you have a simp, he just comes in and expects the woman to be the one in charge, just like his mother, not understanding that most women who you date out here do not want to be the ones taking the lead in the relationship. Now, the only women who want to take the lead in the relationship in most cases are your female predators. And your female predators are women like your feminists, women like your gold diggers, women like your attention whores, women like your strippers. These are type of women who are looking to take advantage of a man, and they like having power and control in the relationship because a lot of these women, that's how they get their needs met, by taking power and control over weak men. And your simp, he oftentimes attracts these type of female predators because he comes from that position of submission. And oftentimes these simps, what they do, they are visual creatures like most men are, and they are attracted to image. And that's what makes the female predators attractive to them, because what the female predators do is they dress themselves up and they make themselves appear to be like many of the fantasy images that these guys see in Madison Avenue ads, Hollywood movies, porn movies, and they make themselves into something that resembles the fantasy images that these guys like watching, and they use that to draw these guys in. And because the simp is caught up in the visual, he's not looking at the values and the character of this woman, and he's not looking at the values that this woman are presenting, and he's not really understanding that those are the intangibles a man is supposed to look for in a relationship. But that the reason why he does that is because he primarily gets most of his ideas about relationships either from his single mother and his beta male father, or he gets a lot of his ideas from your television shows, your soap operas, and your movies. And what he gets these ideas from these things because he's never seen a healthy relationship modeled for him. He's never seen a man and a woman interacting with each other where they show respect for each other, where the man takes leadership, and where they cooperate to work together. He never sees that directly. And because he does not see that directly, he has to go and find substitutes to show him the healthy model for a relationship. And the healthy models he doesn't see, but the things that he does see from your movies and your TV shows, he tries to take that into the real world, not understanding that your TV shows and your movies are primarily scripted entertainment that is written to provide a certain story to the reader that they find, or the viewer that they find entertaining. And it's not meant to actually give you a picture of real life. And what many simps, like the hopeless romantic, are doing is they're looking for this scenario to play out in real life with real people. And unfortunately, what happens is the female predators, they lure the guy in early on. And then after a while of stringing him along, playing to his fantasies, they then turn the tables on these guys, and then they fleece them for everything that they've got. And that's something that I saw happen to that math professor a couple of months ago. This was a guy who he's had this fantasy about how he wanted to get with this Russian woman, and this Russian woman strung him along with these online chats and stuff. Then he flew over to Russia to get with her and meet her so-called family. And then he married this Russian woman, brought her back to the United States, And then she began to fleece him for over $50,000. And when I looked at that case, I saw another case of another textbook simp, because a lot of simps that they do is they try to pander to women, and because the women have the image that they want and are telling them what they want to hear, then these guys get hooked. And then once they get hooked, they're out here spending money on these women, and the women then go after a while, finish taking advantage of them, get every dollar out of them, and then after they get all the money out of these guys, they then dump them to the curb, broke and bitter. And that's what happens to a lot of simps. And sadly, a lot of the simps, after they get burnt by one of these female predators, that's when a lot of these guys start becoming your misogynists. And that's when a lot of these guys start becoming extremely insecure. And that's one of the big problems with your simp, is that because he doesn't understand what's going on, he gets taken advantage of. And what he doesn't understand about female predators is that female predators, what they want to do is find a big, fat, juicy simp. And then after they get the simp hooked, they want to turn the simp into a trick. Now, the reason why they want to turn a simp into a trick is because they know that once you get the simp hooked, you can then get the money out of the simp by promising him the opportunity at sex and then raising the price as you go along. So what they want to do is take the simp, the man who has in the submissive position under women, and then get him to transition into tricking, where he's paying for the opportunity or the possibility of getting sex from women. And then what they want to do is keep jerking the hook and keep pulling him along as long as they can, getting as much money out of this guy as possible. And in many cases, the female predator, what she will do is have sex with the man maybe once or twice here and there, and then she will just keep stringing the guy along, hoping that he becomes addicted to it and keeps wanting more and more opportunities at sex and more opportunities at getting attention from him. And what they will do is, again, they will hook him once, give him sex once, and then after that, that's when they start getting distant. That's when they stop answering your calls. That's when they stop answering your text messages. That's when they stop answering you. And then you're sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting, hoping for some sort of response. And again, this is all about getting the guy desperate for her attention. And that's what they want to do in these cases. And then once they get you desperate enough, they make that call, and then the guy goes out of his way to pay whatever price to get that next date. And depending on how naive the guy is, he will pay a high price for that date. And he will also pay for whatever gifts she wants, pay for whatever things that she wants. And this is how the simp goes around. He just sits there and he's being strung along. And that's how a lot of women can get stuff out of guys. That's how they can get expensive clothes, expensive handbags, expensive shoes, and how some women can even get cars paid for or get their rent paid for. And this is all because your simp is a guy who really, he thinks that this woman's attention is the most valuable thing on earth. And the reason why he wants that woman's attention is not because he likes the woman. He wants that attention because he wants to get something called social currency. And this is what the simp really wants from women, because he does not understand his value as a man. And he believes that his value is defined by the women who he has relationships with. So your simp, just like Kai is saying, he can't be alone. He cannot go out here and just be by himself. So the simp, he needs the woman because he wants to go out here and these guys, what they want to do is be able to say, I have this really attractive girlfriend. And what they want to do is use the woman as an attachment. And they want to use the woman as someone to get the attention of more popular people. So your simp, what he does is he wants to go out here and he needs women in order to feel like he has value as a man. He needs women to feel like he has worth as a man. And he needs women to define himself as a man. So he doesn't understand how to go out here and find value in self, value in who he is, or value in who he can be. He doesn't want to find that type of value by going out here and building himself up. He wants to lean on a woman, and he wants the woman to carry him from one place to the other. So that's what he is. And just like Kai was saying, he's an emotional parasite. And what he does when he gets with a woman is he usually just sucks the energy out of a woman, and he sucks the life out of a woman, because he's usually a very, very dependent man. He's usually a very clingy man, and he's usually a very insecure man. And usually any relationship he gets into usually turns into a nightmare, because when you have a relationship with a simp, it is not one that is, again, based on respect, based on trust. It's usually based on your insecurities, and it's usually based on his need to get the attention and approval of women. And he's usually looking to go out here and he's looking to try to elevate himself by stepping on a woman's shoulders. So he's not looking to have a relationship where he's looking a woman dead in her eye and connect with her on any sort of mental level, emotional level, or spiritual level, or things in common. He's looking to be able to try to rise on the woman's shoulders. And usually that doesn't work, because women are not designed to handle that kind of thing. And what happens is either the relationship either falls apart because female predators take advantage of this guy, or it usually winds up with this guy overwhelming some poor girl to the point where she's looking for the exit. And the reason why she's looking for the exit is because it's just a chore to be with this simp, because the simp is always looking for validation. He cannot go and just be by himself. He's always doing things to try to make sure that the relationship is secure. Like he's always calling for no reason, or he's texting for no reason. And he's doing all of this stuff, and it just overwhelms people when you're always in their face. When it comes down to guys, space is something that you really want to give people in relationships, because space means that you can be you, she can be her. But the simp, what he does is he crowds people to the point where they just feel overwhelmed, and they're feeling overwhelmed because this guy is all up in the personal space. And this is what a lot of guys do out here, is they think that they're by being with this woman every day, they're getting closer, because they think it's getting closer, but you're not getting closer. What you're doing is wearing out your welcome, because a guy putting a little distance, that makes people value the time that they have with you. It makes them appreciate the time that you're with them. And you being and having your own life, again, this draws women to you, because women like it when you don't pay so much attention to them. And they really don't like having a guy in their face every 8 seconds the way a simp is. Because a simp will sit there and he'll be in the woman's face almost every day. And she'll be like, I'm just tired of this guy. Why can't he find something else to do? And the reason why, again, he wants to be in her face every day is because he believes a girlfriend will give him value as a man. And he wants to attach himself to this woman because he wants her to be his attachment, so he can show his value to others. However, whenever it comes down to your simp, the attachment he has with her is only based on how popular the woman is. It's never based on love and trust. And whenever your simp sees another woman who is more popular than the woman he's with is, what he's going to do is make an effort to cheat on that woman. And he's going to do that because what your simp likes to do is he likes to monkey branch from woman to woman, because a simp, in many cases, he has feminine life skills and feminine survival skills, primarily from the single mother household he came from, and primarily from the simp father who modeled the behavior for him, and the dysfunctional behavior he learned on television and media. So a lot of these guys, what they do is when they see a more popular woman who is running with a more popular crowd, he will go out of his way to cheat on the girlfriend that he's with, and then he will look to try to monkey branch to a more popular woman because he believes he can then travel in a different, more popular social circle. So your simps are always known for cheating. Whenever you see a lot of cheating, a lot of times it's because this guy is a simp, and the simp wants to go out here and he wants to be with more popular women. He wants to be with a more popular crowd. And what he's looking to do is attach himself to a more socially popular person in the hopes of gaining more popularity for himself. And the core foundation of your simp behavior is his need to be this popular person, be this person who has value. And that all comes from the low self-esteem he has, because your simps, in most cases, these guys just don't have that confidence in self to go out here and be their own man. So what they need to do is they need to find something to make people believe that they have this high value. So a lot of these guys, what they will do is, if in the beginning they will start coming out here with these gimmicks and these personas and these facades, and if that doesn't get them attention that they want, then they start coming out here with these attachments like these smartphones that are really expensive, these expensive cars, this designer clothes, this jewelry. And if that doesn't get them attention, then they start flashing cash to people. And all of these are behaviors that your simp uses because he doesn't have the self-confidence to just go out here and be himself. And he doesn't have the confidence in himself to go out here and just be himself, enjoy life, and then let people just come and be attracted to them. Because what they don't really understand is attraction. And this is a big problem with a lot of simps out here, is that they don't understand attraction. And they don't understand that like attracts like. And this is one of the principles of the physics of relationships that your simp doesn't understand, is that like attracts like. And oftentimes you'll hear a simp talking about how he wants this so-called good woman, but in many cases he doesn't see how bad he actually is and how dishonest he actually is, because he doesn't want a good woman to have a healthy relationship with. What your simp wants is a woman so that he can go out here and have a opportunity to have someone who will give him social currency and someone who will be an attachment so he can get social currency. So what your simp wants from women is that social currency so that he can say he's a cool dude, he's a popular guy. And a lot of guys think that your simp, again, wants sex, but what he wants from the sex, again, is the social currency. He wants to be able to brag to his friends that he's with this attractive woman and that he's getting opportunities at sex with this woman and he's having sex with that woman because he wants to be a very popular guy. Now, Luciano, simps try to talk like celebrities because they want that social currency. They want to be that cool guy. And the reason why they do that is because they see the celebrities as popular and they want that popularity for themselves. So your simp, he wants to be the cool guy. He wants to be the it guy. But what he doesn't want to do is put in that work in self. And he doesn't want to put that work in because what he wants to do is he wants things to come easy, like he believes they come in your movies and your TV shows. He believes that, oh, these are cool people. Why can't I be a cool person too? Not understanding that most of your celebrities are, again, scripted, choreographed. They've had a bunch of people put things together to make this guy appear to be this cool dude. And he's not actually this cool dude at all. In a lot of cases, we don't even know what this celebrity is like in real life. All he's doing is a job. And the simp thinks that this is a real person and that this is a real image. But no, entertainers, their job is to entertain. Their job is to put on an image. Same thing with models and other actresses. Their job is to put on an image. And that person you see in those pictures, that's not who that person is. And oftentimes when the simp sees the real person, that's when he gets disgusted because he has to deal with reality. And that's when he starts having a hard time dealing with women, because that's the big problem with your simp. He likes to live in the rose-colored world where he sees these distorted fantasy images. But when he has to deal with reality, that's when the simp starts to have your problems. And your simp has those problems because he was never raised with any sort of balance in his life. Because if he had a father to teach him things, he would have some, or male figures to teach him things, he would then learn about the reality of women, and that women are people just like him. They have flaws just like him, and and they're just like everybody else. So your simp, he just lives in this rose-colored world. He doesn't see reality, and this is what gets him into trouble, especially when he deals with women. Angel, do I think this is why you'll see celebrity men recycling the same women? Yes, that's why we see them recycling the same women, because they want to be with the popular woman. And in a lot of cases, these movie studios, what they do is they set up relationships between celebrities in order to sell tabloids and in order to promote these movies and TV shows that these stars are in. So a lot of times you're thinking, oh, these two are actually in a relationship, when in actuality, that relationship was set up by the studio in order to get attention for the project. And sometimes these celebrities will go with other celebrities, but in a lot of cases, what they will do is script this stuff out. But your simp, he doesn't understand that Hollywood is all fake, and he's trying to have a real relationship based on fake concepts. And usually, because he's trying to have a real relationship based on fake concepts, he has shallow relationships with female predators who take advantage of him. And then after he gets taken advantage of by those women, he's the one calling women B's and H's. And the reason why he's running into these female predators is because he just has the wrong perception of women. He has the wrong ideas about women. And again, he's radiating this negative energy that attracts all of these predators to him. And because he's radiating this energy, these women see that he's naive, they see that he's gullible, they see that he's emotional, and they use his emotions to take advantage of him. And they use everything to manipulate him so that they can get an outcome for themselves. So when it comes down to the simp, he's looking to get this fantasy to come to life, but in reality, these women manipulate the world around him so they can get what they want. And then once they get what they want, they then again dump this guy to the curb, bitter and broke. And some of these women will take everything from this guy and only leave the bones for soup to be made, because they will just rip this guy to shreds, getting everything they can out of him. And these guys don't really understand what's going on as related to how things work, because they got everything that they learned about relationships primarily from movies and TV shows, not understanding it's scripted. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Benny, but you're better off without having a black feminist girlfriend. Because there's a lot better women out there, and feminists, all they want to do, again, they're like female predators too. They just use men to get what they want, and then after they get what they want, they then go to the next man. So that what they do is they use men. So, and that's something the guys have to understand about, your female predators, is that they look for guys to use. Now, I talked about the list of female predators in Misadventures of Captain Save-A-Ho. I have that book. It's also on Smashwords, and it's also on Kindle. And in that book, I detail all of the female predators in depth, and you can learn about those female predators. I left a link to the Smashwords edition of Misadventures of Captain Save-A-Ho, but you can also find it on Amazon as well, because your guys out here, this being a simp, it's just not a good thing. And again, I'm seeing a lot of guys using the term completely out of context, not understanding what the term means and what the term is. And again, a simp is a man who places himself in a submissive position under women in the hopes of getting her attention and her approval. And that is all a simp is. And simping, the action of simping, is looking to get the attention and approval of women by placing yourself in that submissive position and looking to pander to women or pander to groups of women. And when you go out here and pander to women, again, women just don't respect you. And the reason why they don't respect you is because women are not looking for a man to be a follower, because they believe followers just cannot meet their needs. So when they look at a man who is out here, who is submissive, who is going out here and doing things like the thirsty dude who makes all of the thirsty comments talking about, oh, you so fly and all this stuff, that guy has already killed himself right there, because she already has a negative impression of him, because him coming out with a thirsty comment like that, being loud, that's a position of weakness. That's why your so-called street harassers, they have no credibility, because when they look at this woman and they see these street harassers and they're making these thirsty comments, the woman pays them no attention and has no regard for them, because these guys have put themselves in a position of complete weakness by making these crass comments. And it really shows how weak they are, because they don't have the confidence to go face to face with a woman and really just go and talk to her and find out if she's interested in that guy. But what they do is, again, they come from that submissive position, thinking that the thirsty comment is going to leave a positive impression. But in many cases, that thirstiness, it just shows how this man has very little self-control, and how his lack of self-control over his emotions is something that shows weakness. And you have a whole host of simps, and again, they come from that position of weakness, and it's that position of weakness is the thing that turns women off, because women don't want to see a weak man. They don't like seeing guys come from that position of weakness, because they're looking for a man to come from a position of strength. And a position of strength is one where a man goes out of his way to just be confident in himself, be secure in himself, because that's a man who shows that he has value. And the reason why he shows that he has value is because he's putting himself first. And when a man puts himself first, he is showing that he is somebody who has high value. He is somebody who is valuable because he values himself. And because he shows that he values himself, other people see him as valuable. And this is one of the core things that women find attractive, because when they see a man who has confidence, when they see a man putting himself first, when they see a man taking care of himself, they then look at that man and say, this man has the traits of a leader. This man has the confidence of a leader, and that this man can be someone who I can be confident and secure in having a relationship with, where I can get my needs met. And this is why women gravitate towards guys who have confidence. And the reason why they gravitate towards guys who have confidence is because they put themselves first, and they want to be the number two to his number one. And because they want to be the number two to his number one, this is why they wind up attracted to your confident guys and are not confident and not attracted to your simps. Now, your simp, because he puts the woman first, this is why the woman puts him last, because he's putting himself last. And when a guy puts himself last, what he does is he shows people he's someone that they don't need to pay attention to. He's someone they don't need to care about. Basically, he's invisible. And I saw that invisibility when I was watching a video of your Elliot Rodger. Now, your Elliot Rodger was one of these guys. He wanted a girlfriend so bad, but he lacked confidence. He lacked self-esteem. And this guy was practically wearing all of these designer clothes, was driving this BMW, this expensive car. And what happened was he was invisible because he was putting women first. And because he put women first, we could not see him. And he was practically invisible in many of his videos. Moreover, your Elliot Rodger had a very feminine presence. And I remember watching his video, and the guy had a feminine presence. And when a guy has a feminine presence, it's going to repel women. And the reason why it's going to repel women is because that man is just like another woman. And when a guy is just like another woman, she's not going to feel any sort of sexual attraction to that man. And the reason why she's not going to feel any sexual attraction is because that man is radiating feminine energy. Whereas a masculine heterosexual man with confidence, he's going to radiate masculine energy. And because he radiates masculine energy, he's going to attract women to him. And he's going to attract those women to him because he's masculine, and masculine energy attracts feminine women, whereas feminine energy attracts masculine women. So your beta male or your simp, in many cases, what he will do is he radiates the feminine energy, and that's what attracts the masculine energy of your female predators. And the female predators, because they have this masculine energy, they are out here attracted to that guy because they see his weakness, they see his lack of confidence, and they take advantage of him. I'm sorry, Benny, about things breaking up with you and the feminists, but again, you are in a way better position because now you know what to look for and identify with that type of female predator. And when it comes down to your feminist or your SJW, this is not a woman you want to be with because she wants power and control. And what they want to do is control the relationship, and they want to have the relationship on their terms. So your guys out here, they want to be able to go out here and they can't lead in that relationship. But your feminist, she wants to control everything because she's insecure. And she's really insecure because she primarily came from either a female-headed household or a household with a lot of abuse or a household without a father. So she's not used to getting her needs met. She doesn't trust a man to meet her needs. And whenever a man tries to have a relationship with her, what happens is she winds up destroying it because of her insecurities and her fears. And because she's afraid that this man will not meet her needs, she doesn't trust him to meet her needs. And this is what winds up with men walking away from them. Luciano, do I think slavery lasted as long because of simping? I don't know about that, but I know that your simping was just something that a lot of these beta males do. And I don't know if it had anything to do with slavery at all. So, but there's been simping all throughout history, is all throughout literature, all throughout art. And simping is something that has been done. But again, in the last couple of months, I've just seen people taking the term out of context, and I've seen people just taking the word and just throwing it around. And it's almost like when it comes down to many of the black YouTubers in the black sector of YouTube, when they take the term coon, and the term coon is supposed to be a verb about a certain stereotype about lazy, incompetent black men who act foolishly. But you have guys who, because they disagree with black men, what they do is use this term as shaming language. And I see this now with the term simp. Whenever you try to talk about something positive about women, you'll have guys say, "Oh, this guy's a simp," all because he said something positive about women. Now, your average man out here, he doesn't hate women, and he doesn't go out here pandering. He doesn't hate women, and in many cases, he just wants to show his love for a woman or his attraction for a woman, and he wants to pay compliments. He wants to show respect. And again, this is not simping if it's not done for the intent and purpose of trying to get something in return. If a guy just pays a woman a compliment, says, "Oh, I like your dress, I like the way you look," or "I like something that you did," that's not simping. If he wants to stand up and support a woman, that's not simping at all. And this is something guys don't get because they are just coming into things and just doing things based on what they've read and what they've heard without looking at things in the proper context. Gordon, if beta males are so weak, why are they gaining so much ground in corporate? Well, a lot of times those guys get promoted because people want to use them as tools. And once they use them as tools, they wind up discarding them. And I talked about this in depth in my book, Stop Simping in the Workplace. And what they do is a lot of people will go out here and they'll elevate a beta male. And the reason why they're elevating the beta male to a management position or an executive position is because there's something they want to get. And then once they get what they want to get out of the workplace simp or the political simp, they then discard the beta male. And a lot of times, again, these guys are just being set up to be used because a lot of times with your simps are playing Candyland while female predators and other male predators are playing chess. And they will just go out here and make the right moves to get what they want. And then after they get what they want, then they then set that guy up to either get fired, or in the case of politics, they set that guy up in a scandal where they force him to resign. And then after they force him to resign, they then put either themselves in that position or they go out here and find another tool to use. So in the workplace, your simp is a tool. And the reason why he's a tool is because he has no direction as a man and he has no goals set for himself as a man. It's just like your Gary Coon over at Gillette. This man has no direction in his life because if he was a man, he would be sitting there saying, I need to set goals for where I want to go as an executive. I need to set a course for where I want to go as an executive. And you need to go out here and be the one taking charge over your career. And a man is not going to sit there and pander to a group of feminists. What he's going to do is look at the numbers and say, look, this is my core audience. If my core audience is men, I'm going for these men. And I'm not trying to pander to these women because these women aren't the ones buying my products. But the simp, because he wants to get brownie points with women, what he's going to do is pander to those women, thinking that by coming from the submissive position, he will go out here and get those female customers. But those female customers just aren't interested in your products now because you came from a position of weakness. You lowered the value of those products. And this is why the whole get woke, go broke thing happens, because what happens is when you pander to certain groups, you lower the value of your products and you show people that these products really don't have a value to people's lives because you're pandering to these groups out here. And this is why many of these franchises are like Star Wars or your Marvel are losing money because instead of them showing the value to the customer and showing the value to people and how it contributes to people's lives, what it does is these guys start pandering for social currency. And again, you can't get social currency with an attachment, because if you try to get social currency with an attachment, all you're doing is showing again how weak you are. And this is what I saw with your Gary Kuhn over at Gillette. And I also saw it with your CB Cebulski at Marvel Comics. When that Asian writer called him a racist, all he had to do as a man was say, can you substantiate that? And if you cannot substantiate that, I'm going to file a slander lawsuit. And that would have shown that he had high value and he valued himself. Because when somebody disrespects you and you don't check them, what you're doing is lowering your value and also showing that you are coming from a position of weakness. And what happens when you are weak is people will believe that they can step over your boundaries. And what your CB Cebulski did was let that woman step over his boundaries, and he rewarded her for disrespecting him. And once he rewarded her for disrespecting him, that was the thing that showed the beginning of the end of his career. So when I looked at CB Cebulski, I saw simping right there. And you're submitting to this woman who disrespected you, and you're rewarding her for disrespecting you. And that's something that simps do all the time, is they reward people for disrespecting them. And you don't reward people who reject you. You don't reward people who make slick comments to you. You don't reward people with more of your attention, because that lowers your value even further. For example, I remember watching Family Matters back in the day, and your Steve Urkel, what he would do is continue to pander to Laura, even though Laura has gone out of her way to disrespect him in every episode. And when you go out here and do that, you lower your value to others and you show people that they don't need to respect you. So when I would watch Family Matters, I would look at it and go, the Steve Urkel just showing how weak he is, and he's also showing that he has no value overall, because he continues to go back to the same person looking for validation and approval who rejected him. And that's something that a guy does when he has no self-respect. And again, when you do that, you open the door for other people to disrespect you, because when you don't respect yourself and draw a boundary around yourself for how people treat you, then everybody's going to think it's okay to step on you. And this is one of the things your simp does, is he allows people to disrespect him. And he thinks that, oh, because I'm getting some attention from someone, then everything is okay. And no, it's not okay, because not all attention is good attention. And your simp just wants to get attention because, again, he comes from the place of insecurity. He comes from the place of feeling inadequate. And he comes from the place of low self-esteem. And he doesn't understand that sometimes it's better to be by yourself or be around those who value you than to try to be with popular people who don't care anything about you. D. Woodward, 78. I heard about CBS and Viacom remerging. And again, that's what Sherry Redstone wanted to do with the whole Les Moonves scandal, was she set him up with these sexual harassment allegations so she could take control over the company. And now she's looking to remerge the company because her part of the company was losing money on the cable side. And now she wanted to get to the more profitable television side. However, what your Les Moonves did, because he made CBS the top-rated network, was he played a chess move and left her with the company but most of the top shows are leaving the network. So he sees the long-term game, and he knows that she doesn't know how to make content. So he's left her with a sinking ship. She doesn't even know that the Viacom and CBS ship is getting ready to sink, because Les Moonves was the one who made it a #1 network. He was the one who put all of the hits on the air. And with Big Bang Theory leaving, they're one of their top-rated shows, and many of their other shows like NCIS getting ready to age out, what's happening now is your Sherry Redstone has been left with a sinking ship. And again, she didn't know how to manage the cable networks, so how is she going to manage the broadcast network? So he set her up to take a big fall. And yes, he might have been a pervert and a deviant, but he knew how to play chess, and he set her up for a major checkmate. So Moonves set her up, and he's going to be living on Easy Street for the end of his life, because he made so much money, it's not funny. And he set her up to take the fall, and he doesn't care about what happens to CBS at this point, because she wanted the power, and she got the power. But what happens is she doesn't know how to manage a company. Yeah, I got your question, Luciano, about self-respect. And again, simps, they do things because they don't respect themselves. And again, they don't have any self-respect because they have low self-esteem. And they have no self-esteem. So what they do is they look to pander to women, and because they don't have the confidence to go out here and deal with women on their own. They don't look out and see who's gravitating in their direction. They don't look out and see, oh, wait, this woman is just saying hi to me at work. So that woman might actually be interested, because a lot of times when women are interested, they will let themselves be known to a guy. And a lot of times they will just let themselves be known. And it's up to you to pick up on the signals, like those nonverbal cues, or sometimes they'll just try to come up to you and talk to you and ask you a question or something. And it's up to you to pick up on it and see, oh, this woman is actually interested. But the simp, he doesn't look at who's attracted to him. He's looking to chase this fantasy or this ideal. And because he's looking to chase the ideal and the fantasies he sees on TV, he misses out on the real images of women and the real women around him. Because Supremo, why do I think simping is ingrained in TV shows, film, and music? Well, simping is ingrained in it because it makes money for these companies. And if you have guys following a model of simping, because a lot of guys, they get their ideas about relationships from TVs, film, and music, then they think that this is normal. And these companies make a lot of money off of those guys who are following the simp paradigm, because these are the guys who are going to go out of their way to take their girlfriends or the women they want to date to these fancy restaurants. They're going to go out of their way to buy these women jewelry. They're going to go out of their way to buy these women expensive clothes. They're going to go out of their way to buy these women expensive shoes. So these companies are looking at making a lot of money from these guys buying into these ideas. And once they buy into those ideas, that's how those companies get rich at the expense of a lot of guys. And most guys don't know the real paradigm as related to relationships, and that, again, women follow men, and women are attracted to men who they want to be with. So usually it's the woman who chooses the man, and she chooses the man by wanting to be in his presence, get his attention. But the simp, he's so busy looking to get the attention of this fantasy, he can't, again, see these real women out here who are drawn to him and see the women who actually want to spend time with him. And because he doesn't see the women who want to spend time with him, he then misses out on all the opportunities at real relationships with real women. What's going on, George Rogers? I'm talking about the true definition of a simp in today's live stream. And I'm talking about this true definition because so many guys are taking the term simp right out of context, not understanding what the term simp is, or really understanding what the whole thing about simps is about. They're just using it as shaming language to try to shame any man who disagrees with them. and trying to use it as a way to silence men who present differences of opinions regarding women. George, why are there so many simps at the gym? Well, when it comes down to simps, they go to the gym a lot of times because they think that going to the gym will get them the attention of women. And a lot of times they see the really attractive women there and they believe that they can get that attention from those women by working out and having that muscular body. Unfortunately, again, it leaves a lot of these guys wide open for female predators to take advantage of because they're so busy, again, looking for this fantasy image of this really attractive, athletic looking woman. But in a lot of cases, all they do is attract predators because they're so busy looking on the outside that they're not thinking about on the inside. Most guys who do go to the gym who are balanced, they go to the gym because they want to be able to build their body up and get their health up. And they're not going there to get the attention of women. But simps go to the gym for the attention of women, and they're always checking to see what's women are looking for them. Most guys who go to the gym, when they go to the gym, they're focusing on their reps. They're focusing on the body parts they wanted to work on that day. They're focusing on the things that they want to do. And they want to go out here and get fit, but they're getting fit for themselves. Whereas your simp, he's getting fit for women. And that a case of that was with your George Sodini. He was a guy, he was a mass shooter. He was getting fit and buff, and he was getting mad because women weren't giving him attention. And because women weren't getting him attention, then he wanted to shoot up the gym, not understanding that gyms are not really a place where guys go to get women. And it's not a place where women go to get guys. Usually, most women go to the gym. They want to go there to get fit, and they're going there to focus again on the body parts that they want to work on that day. Some women want to work on chest. Some women want to work on legs. Some women want to work on back. I mean, people go to the gym because they want to work on different things, or they want to take classes like yoga, or they want to go out here and do things. So they're focused mostly on getting themselves, on the things that they want to do as related to their workout. And your simp, he's there. He just wants to go out here and try to find that easy opportunity to try to get attention from women. And what they want to do with the women of the Me Too movement, now that they've adapted, they're trying to get into the gym and to get at those guys and try to get the attention of guys. And it really disrupts the flow of what the gym is supposed to be. The gym is supposed to be about people getting themselves fit, but the simp, he goes there again for attention. I haven't really done much research on Jeffrey Epstein. I'd have to do a little bit more on the whole fiasco, but it's not looking like something that really happened the way they said it. They're saying that there was too much overtime and people were burnt out, but I don't really know what the story is, and I really don't want to get into the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing. All I know is we got one less pervert to deal with, and he's probably roasting in hell right now. So is that the Planet Fitness on Fordham? Or no, that's not Planet. There's a whole bunch of them here in the Bronx. We got one supposed to open up on 170, Benny. But yeah, a lot of chicks go to the gym. They try to pick up guys, and guys try to pick up girls, but it's not really that place for that. Born saying, yeah, what percentage of relationships in America you think are based on simping and what they call the convenient? I think a good majority of them, over 50% of them, are based on simping because the simp paradigm has been the model for American life for the last, I say, 50 years. So a lot of people grew up with the simp paradigm. They believe that the simp paradigm is the way you're supposed to have relationships. And they believe that they have to go out here and impress women. They have to go out of their way to please women. And that's what they do. That a lot of the guys, they throw them into it. But once you learn that that doesn't work, you then move into a new direction. And that's what I try to do with the book, Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance, is get guys off the simp paradigm and into a healthy paradigm. I also do it in the novel Spinsterella, where I show you the healthy way that men and women are attracted to each other. And in that book, I show you with the Matilda character and the Quiet Man how they come together. And I show how, again, it's the woman picking the man and the woman showing interest in the man that leads to the guy making the move on the girl. And that's what leads to the relationship coming together. A lot of guys think it's them using this so-called game and being a player and all this stuff, when it's actually the woman being attracted to you. And again, she makes the first move on the guys that she likes, and that like has to be built into respect based on the actions of the man. But your simp, he's thinking that he can turn like into respect by following the woman, when in actuality, you turn like into respect by showing how you're going to lead as a man. Oh, it's 149th Street. Is that 149th and 3rd Avenue? Because that area is rough now. I remember when it was much better, when we had Alexander's back then. Wow. Yeah, but they will make a move on you if they see you coming in proper and really well dressed and putting yourself together. So they will make a move on you, and sometimes them making a move on you is positive. But if you're not into her, you're not into her. That's all about you being into her and you deciding to choose to be with her. So. But a lot of chicks are now going to the gym because a lot of guys are avoiding the bars and a lot of guys are avoiding the clubs. So that's why the gym is becoming like a major place for your simps, because women are not going to the bars and the clubs, so they're trying to go to the gym. And well, Angray 12. All you have to do is just be you. You don't have to worry about women showing interest in you. Just sit there and chill. Now, all of a sudden, they'll start coming to you. All you got to do is just do your thing and be yourself, and the women will come to you. I mean, all you have to do is, that's what I did for years, and I still do. And if women are interested, they will let themselves be known. But the problem is, a lot of guys start chasing women based on the ideas and fantasies they have. And what happens is they set themselves up for being taken advantage of. Benny, I'm well aware of 149th Street because I used to go there when I was a kid, and it's nothing like it was in the 80s. In the 80s, when we had Alexander's and all of those stores down there, it was a nice place. But now it's been a wreck ever since about 92, 93, when Alexander's closed, and it became a straight ghetto filled with these ghetto stores, filled with a lot of crackheads, a lot of dusty people. And if you take a bus like the Bronx 15 or the Bronx 41, you're going to see some nightmares right in front of you. So I know how bad it is over there. And it hasn't been good ever since Alexander's went out of business in 92. And that was about, 28 years ago. And I have stopped going down there. I remember when I was a kid, I used to go there every week. But now it's like, I don't even bother going down there because that area is super rough. That area is not a place you would want to go these days. Now, back in the late 70s, 80s, and up to about 91 or so, that was a place you had no problem going shopping there. I mean, you had a nice McDonald's, you had a nice KFC, you had Alexander's, you had Dr. J's, you had a lot of nice little stores there, but the area just fell completely off. And that Bronx, you don't really want to go down there. I mean, Bronx 15, I remember when that was a bus that took you from the Bronx to Harlem, you had no problems. Now, over the last 5-10 years, it's become a drama bus, and that's like a bus that the crackheads get on. They get on through the back door. It's not something you want to do, is take a trip to 3rd Avenue, 149th Street. It's just, I would leave. I wouldn't even go over there. I mean, even other parts of the Bronx. I mean, I think they're opening up a Planet Fitness on 170th Street in Jerome. I think they're opening up one over there because I got the flyer for it about a year ago. I don't know if they're open yet, and that one might be a little better. But I try to avoid places like 149th Street. I know there's a 24-hour fitness on Fordham Road, but I don't even like Fordham Road these days because Fordham Road is just it's a mess over there. I mean, I remember I was going to go look at some places, and I was standing outside the bus waiting for the 12 for the VIM, outside of the VIM, and this dusty dude was shoplifting at the VIM, and they busted him shoplifting at the VIM. Oh, I didn't know that, Orson. Yeah, but Fordham, I try to avoid Fordham. I went through there once, and it's a disaster. I remember the Fordham Road. They had Valentine, they had the RKO. They tore them all down to make Dr. J's. And I remember going to the Valentine '89 to go see Batman. And I used to go there all the time. I started Return of the Jedi there. I remember Fordham Road when they had all those movies. They had 2 movie theaters. They actually had 3. They closed another one. It was way up on Jerome Avenue. So I know all about Fordham Road. I remember how great that was when Alexander's was around. Alexander's and Sears, and I remember that area. It was really nice over there. Yeah, that happens, George. Yeah, a lot. Simps, they can be straight or they can be gay, but the whole thing is they go and they pander for female attention and female approval, and that's something that they do, and that's what really messes a lot of these guys up is the pandering, and they're thinking that if I go out here and I give them what they want, they'll give me what I want, but they wind up with nothing. Why do some of the disenfranchised and discriminated men become simps? Because they believe that they can't get their needs met by just being confident men, George. That's why they become simps, because they believe that if they submit and pander to people, they may get something from people. But usually what happens is you just get crumbs from the table, because when you come from that submissive position, again, you're doing things on somebody else's terms and not your own. And when you do things from somebody else's terms, you are not going to get the very best overall. Yeah, they get discriminated even more because they're showing that they have no value in self and no value in themselves. So because they don't value themselves, this is why people disrespect them, and this is why people discriminate against them, because they're showing that they don't respect themselves, so other people don't have to respect them. If you guys want to donate to the Cash App, you can donate to the Cash App by clicking the link I'm going to put in the chat, or you can donate to the Patreon by clicking the link to the chat. And again, this is the way I keep making these videos, or you can donate to the Super Chat. You can donate through those ways. Those are how I pay for the internet. This is how I take care of business here, or that's how I take care of business around here. And again, this is a thank you very much, Larry. Really appreciate it. But if you guys want to donate to the Cash App or the Patreon, I really would appreciate it. All the donations are used for paying for the internet. It's also used to pay for the covers of books like Isis All That Glitters and Esteem Goddess Of and John Haynes' Dark Succubus. I'm trying to get the fiction sales up, so I really appreciate if you guys would pick these books up on Amazon in paperback or Kindle formats. And I'm going to get back to talking about this definition of a simp, because again, a lot of guys just don't know what that definition is, and they're sitting there. They think that they can just use this word without understanding the definition. And a lot of these guys, they're talking about how they're men going their own way. But men who go their own way, they respect other men and they respect other men's preferences, because they understand that a man who is going his own way, if he wants to pay a compliment to a woman, he can pay that compliment to a woman. And it's something that he wants to do. And a lot of times a guy, he's showing his respect for a woman by paying that compliment. It's not simping at all, but your guys out here, they want to talk about their red pill, but really have no understanding of what a red pill is, what a red pill is about, because a red pill, again, is just you seeing the reality around you. And when you see the reality, you then set a course for where you want to go and what you want to do in life, because you see what things are, you understand what they are, and you accept what they are. And then you start going God's way in life, because he is the leader of, he becomes your leader, and you start heading down that road. So that's what red pill is. But you don't have a lot of guys, they're still blue pill, and the blue pill guys, they go into the shaming language. They use terms out of context. They use words in ways they don't understand. And they go out here and they use these terms without understanding. And they use them without understanding how they're used. So I want to clarify it, because I see people using this term, and I see these guys who are allegedly going their own way, but they're not going their own way. They're still blue pill, because only blue pill guys go into ad hominem attacks. True to the game guys, they don't make ad hominem attacks. They only call out behaviors when they see the behaviors, but they don't need to go on an ad hominem attacks. They have ways to reinforce their arguments with facts, and they just don't understand how to break a fact down and present that case in a way that everybody can understand it. Well, anybody can fall for a feminist. I mean, it happens to any guy. He can just get involved with a woman, and it just happens. So guys can fall for a feminist, and they don't know she's a feminist until later on. And thank you, Born Savior, for the donation. I really appreciate it. Again, if you guys want to donate to the Patreon, the Cash App, or the Super Chat, you can do so. But a lot of guys, a lot of these women, again, they're female chameleons, and they won't let you know that they're feminists until it's too late. They'll put on a nice face in front of you. So they'll put on a nice face for the first 2-3 months, and you won't know they're a feminist until later on. And then when you find out, she will then reveal her true colors. Once she gets you involved, and this is the way female predators operate, and this is why they take advantage of guys, is they will put on a very nice face. They will put on a very kind face in the beginning, but oftentimes a lot of these guys, because they're not thinking critically and they're not really studying her behaviors and her actions, what happens is they aren't really looking at who she is and looking at her actions that will define her character. They're not looking at her behavior, which will show you things, and they're not really listening to what she's saying so that they can find out what she's really about. So a feminist, she will go out of her way to be the female chameleon, and she'll put on that nice face in the beginning, and then she'll release the monster later on once she gets you close to her. So what they will do is release the monster, and then once they release the monster, then it's like what Benny's saying he's going through. You start feeling like you are walking on eggshells in order to be in a relationship with her, and you're feeling tense, and you have to do things to please her. And she's the one taking control over the relationship. And when she takes control, then she wants to try to dominate you and put you in a submissive position and have you feeling frustrated and overwhelmed. And the best thing you can only do in that situation is to leave that woman, because that's a situation where things are only going to get worse over time, because it's going to become a power struggle. And what she wants to do is get you locked in a codependent, vicious cycle where you're getting blamed for everything, and you're the reason why everything isn't working out. So Benny's in a way better place now that he's gotten rid of this feminist, and she's going to be alone. The more you focus on yourself and building yourself up, you're going to get with a better woman, and you're going to get a better relationship with a woman, because now you know what to avoid when it comes down to these toxic females. You can identify the behavior of a toxic female, and you can learn how to not deal with that person, because you're going to see the cues as related to their behavior, and you're going to see the cues as related to the way they operate. So a lot of them, again, they play with the simp. They create the fantasy for the simp, and lure him in by baiting him with their appearance because they know men are visual. And then what they do is pull you in. And then after they pull you in, they then make the plan to take you out. So simps oftentimes, again, because they're not really seasoned out here, they get taken advantage of because they're looking for a fantasy and they're not really understanding that you have to objectively assess this woman from reality. What's going on, O'Meal? Glad to see you here. Um, we're still talking about the true definition of a simp that I broke down in my book, Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance. And you can get that book on Smashwords by clicking the link in the chat, or you can pick it up on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Thank you again, Larry, for the donation. I really appreciate it. And when a lot of guys, they become simps again because they just don't have those male life skills because there was no man to teach them about how to have relationships with women or how to interact with the opposite sex. There was no father there to teach, or if he was a beta male who taught this boy that he needed money to get women. Because a lot of guys who grew up, especially in the 70s and the 80s, this is what we grew up with from the men in the community. And we also grew up imbibing this in media, which always told us that you needed to have big money, expensive clothes, and all these so-called cool things to get the popular women, when in actuality, it's not about being involved with the popular woman. It's about being involved with the woman who is attracted to you. And this is the paradigm that a lot of guys were taught in a lot of these movies and TV shows. They were taught, oh, you need to get with the attractive woman who is popular, when it's about getting involved with the woman who is right for you. And the simp, he's just looking for the popular woman, but he doesn't understand that the popular woman is not oftentimes the best woman to get involved with. Because a lot of times the popular woman, what she's going to do is just be a female predator who uses you because she's all about status. And again, she's looking to monkey branch just like the simp is looking to monkey branch because her whole approach to relationships is a very shallow one. Pro Man, you make a good point. Yeah, the simps of the 70s and the 80s, they did help destroy the black community because they were all about social currency and they weren't about building anything of substance. They were all about having this big money so they could drive these big cars, buy these expensive clothes, and live this very, very shallow lifestyle where it was all about impressing people and keeping up this appearance. And it wasn't about doing anything as related to substance as related to a relationship. So they weren't really about having a healthy relationship. They were just about being the cool people and the popular people. And it's all of their relationships were based on nothing. And it was just one person using the other person. And really both of them were using each other because the simp, he uses women so he can get social currency. And the women use the guys for money. And it's basically like prostitution then that they're using each other, but they'll sit there and tell you that they are victims, but in actuality, they're both using each other. I saw the same thing in the 80s and the 70s in the Bronx, Born Savior. Yeah, I saw that. And yeah, there was a lot of simps out there. And these guys were so bad in the 70s and the 80s. It was just sad. I mean, the simping levels, that's why I call the 80s the golden age of simping, because you had guys who are older, they were paying women's rent. And the woman was living in an apartment separate from themselves. And they were paying rent on 2 apartments, one for her and one for him. So he's paying for 2 places. And a lot of these guys were working to buy these women a whole host of stuff. And it was really sad that these guys thought that they needed to buy things in order to have a relationship. And a lot of these guys were working themselves to death all because they wanted to go out here and have a woman. And a lot of times those women were not really respecting these men. And I remember I would be riding the bus. They would be sitting there talking bad about these women. And they would, not these women, these men, they'd be talking about how stupid these guys are, how dumb these guys are. And in some cases, what they would do after getting their rent paid, sometimes they would be having another guy over at their place, and sometimes they would get cash from these guys and give it to another guy. So basically, this guy was financing another dude who was in the house he was paying for, and he was doing that all because he thought he needed to do this to have a woman. And what he didn't understand was these women were just using him to get themselves taken care of and using them to get everything that they need. I mean, they were getting their whole apartments decked out with the finest. They were getting the best clothes. In some cases, they were getting cars and stuff, and they were getting all this stuff for free. And this simp was working himself to death all so he could be out here and say, I got a woman. And again, what he didn't have was his dignity. He didn't have his self-respect. He didn't have his self-worth. Because if he was a man, he would sit there and say to himself, after thinking critically, why am I paying for this woman to have a place that she can lay her head, and I'm paying for my own place, when we just had this so-called feminist movement where these women said they were strong and independent, they did not need a man, they could make their own money. Well, why can't she take her own money from her own job and pay for her own place? That's what a man is going to tell a lot of these women who were back in the 80s and the 70s talking all this feminist stuff. If you're so strong and independent, then you pay for your own rent, you pay for your own clothes, you pay for your own car, because the only way you're going to get those type of things from a man is if you go out here and you're married to that woman, because that's what a man is going to tell a woman. If I am not married to you, I owe you nothing. I only pay a rent for a place that I pay for. I only pay for a car that I'm going to drive. I only pay for your clothes if I am married to you. And that's what a man is going to tell a woman. But your simp, he's willing to lower his standards because he wants to get the attention of a lot of these women. And he wants to be able to go out here, and he wants to think if he gives women stuff, he will get an opportunity at sex in return. And instead, all he was doing was spending money taking care of women who were wasting his money, had no respect for him, and in some cases were out here having guys on the side in the same place he was paying for. And that's what a lot of these guys didn't get in the 70s and the 80s. Especially in the late 70s and the 80s, they were sitting there paying for these women to have places to stay. And some of them, they were sitting there thinking that, oh, the money is just going to be endless. And these guys worked some of them into early graves, all to have a woman. And the woman was sitting there with another guy in the place he's paying rent for. In some cases, this guy is coming in there watching his TV that he bought for her, playing his stereo, eating his food, and the dude is being made into a laughingstock because he's working himself to death, and he's getting last of what he worked and paid for, and not getting the first that he put his money into. Because he's looking to have a woman, and again, you shouldn't be looking to have a woman. You should be looking to have a wife. I mean, if this woman really wanted to be in your life, she would want to be your wife. And what we saw in the 70s as a result of the feminist movement and the welfare state was a lot of people trying to skirt God's institution of marriage by trying to either pay for a woman to be in our own place so that they could skirt the welfare rules, because the women had kids with the guy. So he was going to have a place with one place and she was going to have another. And again, I saw that too. And again, it's never a good thing, because in a marriage, under the standard of God, you have a family, you have a household, and the man is providing for the household. But under the whole I got a woman thing or I got a man thing, you have a simp paying for women, and the women are using him. And then once they get enough out of that guy, they then monkey branch to the next man. And a lot of times, as the guy is paying rent, what's happening is she's sitting there getting all this money and then planning her next move to monkey branch to the next man. But your simp, he can't see the big picture as related to your woman out here and how she's enriching herself at his expense and how she's using him to live this middle class lifestyle that she would not be able to live on her own. And again, your feminist, she was the one who said she did not need a man, but they sure love having a guy's money. And the simp, he doesn't understand that that's all they want from the guy is his money. And yeah, just like Dominic X was saying, women hate simps, and they do. They have no respect for them, and they have no regard for them. And a lot of times they will do things to hurt the simp, like going out here and trashing the stuff that he buys her or giving the stuff away that he buys her. Again, passive aggressive expressions of contempt that they have for this man. And sometimes they will even go out of their way after they have gotten everything they want out of this simp, and they will escalate their behavior to make plans to murder that man. Because once they get what they want out of this guy, a lot of these female predators, they don't want people to know that they had gotten this stuff out of this guy, and they don't want this guy telling the secrets about them. What the woman will do is make plans to get rid of the simp, because when she cannot use him anymore, she doesn't want to use him anymore, she will just make plans to murder this guy. And a lot of times she does that because she wants to get more guys into her trick bag. Because a lot of times with your female predators, they will use guys in the trick bag, and they have more than one. A lot of times they have more than one. And this is what the simp doesn't understand. The simp is sitting there thinking, this is my one girl. This is my one girlfriend. She loves me so much. But a lot of times these women have 2 and 3 guys in their trick bag. And what they will do is, just like Pro Man just said, they will pit one simp against another simp. And I talked about this in Misadventures of Captain Save-A-Ho. I talk about how women will pit one simp against another one, and they will use one simp to get rid of another simp, because if one guy is dead, the other one is in jail, her secrets remain safe, and she doesn't have to worry about it because she keeps these guys in the trick bag, and she uses the guys in the trick bag to get rid of the guys who she doesn't have any more use for. And that's what's really dangerous about your female predators is they use people, and they use people, and then once they finish using them, they get rid of them. Luciano, I'm getting ready to go in about 12 minutes. Do simps exist because women lack survival skills? I would say that they exist because men lack male survival skills. Women are always going to look for a guy to take care of them. And what the predatory women want to do is they look for the weakest men, because the weakest men can be the ones to provide for them. And the reason why simps exist primarily is because men are not taught male life skills by their fathers, and their fathers don't teach them the survival skills that they need. Glad to see you here, Rob IS. I'm getting ready to wrap the stream up in about 12 minutes. I was talking about the true definition of a simp, and I was going in depth on simps. So in this one, I wanted guys to understand what the definition of a simp was, because again, the term is taken so out of context these days, and you have guys calling people simps without understanding what the real context was. These guys who put themselves under a submissive position, under women to get their attention and approval. These guys who roll out the red carpet and buy these women all of these clothes and take them to the fanciest restaurants and buy them expensive meals. These guys who go out of their way to impress women by showing out with their money. And what happens is these guys wind up getting used, taken advantage of, and they wind up, again, being dropped to the curb, bitter and broke once the females have finished getting what they want, the lucky ones. However, there are some female predators who will go out of their way to kill these guys because they don't want people knowing about their secrets. They don't want them to know about the dirty stuff that they have done in order to get things for themselves. So they will go out of their way to bait another simp that they have in their trick bag, have him go either fight this guy on some allegation they made up, or have some guy kill a guy based on something that they said the man did. And they'll put your life at risk, or they'll do things like we're seeing right now with this Me Too movement, which is basically guys in the trick bag where they're using the government and the media as tricks to go out here and take out the guys that they want because they can no longer get resources out of them. So you have the Me Too movement, which is basically like a giant trick bag, and they're taking the women. The women are using the media, the courts, and using public opinion in order to take guys out and in order to get resources for themselves. So a lot of people aren't looking at the actions of simping. It's all throughout our culture. And simping goes back to the beginning of time, Warren Savior. Some people would say Adam was a simp because he submitted to Eve in eating the apple. And that's what some people are saying. And because he didn't check Eve and really deal with Eve, he was submitting to her by eating that apple because he already knew that she had sinned, and he didn't sin just yet. So he made a major mistake right there. That's what some people are saying. And Luciano, the 60s sexual revolution was the beginning, but really was the feminist movement. The feminist movement made it where women were trying to use their bodies as leverage, and a lot of these guys, they were submitting to women because they didn't know how to deal with these feminist women. So they thought if they submitted to these feminist women, they would get opportunities at sex. So that was the start of the modern day simping and simp culture that permeated through the 70s and the 80s. As men adapted in the 70s and the 80s, they started simping on women because they thought that because these women would deny them opportunities at sex because they were strong women, they would have to submit to them. And then that model was taught to boys over the next 2 to 3 generations. And that's how we got this simping culture. But that's how we got this simping culture. And this simping culture, it permeated throughout the 70s and the 80s. And here in the 2010s, we're starting to see men identify it and trying to adapt to change course with it. And that's what we're seeing now with a lot of these guys is they're adapting because now they're becoming aware of it. They're taking women off the pedestals, and they're trying to find ways to survive as men. And what the thing is that they have to learn how to get those male life skills from somewhere. Dominic X, yeah, a lot of these simps came from single mother households. I talk about that in depth in Stop Simping, because what these guys do in the single mother household is they grow up in a household submitting to a female authority figure. They learn to submit and defer to women, and they learn how to follow women, and they learn how to put women on pedestals. And then they try to take the approach that they learned from their mother and other female authority figures like teachers into their relationships. And unfortunately, what happens is they go into these relationships, and women, that the only women they attract are female predators because they don't know how to attract healthy women, or they don't know how healthy women are attracted to them because the behavior they're participating in is so submissive that it winds up turning women off, because women don't like submissive men. Women like men who have confidence. They like men who are leaders, and they like men who can go out here and do for themselves. And they can't see those type of men because all of these men have been culturally conditioned to be this soft male. But women who are your peers don't want a soft male. A mother wants a soft male so that she can be taken care of. But a woman who wants to be your partner and your wife, she wants a man who's going to lead because she needs that man to lead in order to set a direction for the household and the family. So that's what most women who are your peers are looking for. And I talk about that in the man crisis. I talk about that in the man crisis, about how women in your peer group are looking for a man who is going to be a leader. And she wants a man to be that man who can take in charge, but she can't get that man because feminists wanted to create this soft male. And the soft male, he's not really good for anything because he has no seasoning as a man, because he has not been taught by his father. And thanks to the gynocentric workplace, he has no place to prepare for manhood so that he can learn how to be a man from other men, because most workplaces are primarily filled with women. So a lot of these guys are not getting the male life skills, and that's preventing a lot of women from finding that boyfriend they want to get with, or that husband they want to marry. So simp culture is doing a major number on the overall society. And the main reason why our birth rates are starting to decline is because of simp culture. Because when you have submissive men, women don't find them attractive, and empowered women don't find them attractive. And this is why we have the whole 80-20 thing going into effect right now, is because you have all these empowered women and they're not attracted to these weak men. And you have 80% of these men out here, they're angry and frustrated because they aren't attracting women. But the reason why they're not attracting women is because the women are in these jobs and they're making all this money. So they are looking for this rich guy or this man with a good salary to provide for them. And all they're finding is a bunch of soft guys, a bunch of weak guys. And these mama's boys, like Man of Action said, these guys are not attracting any sort of guy who a woman wants to marry or have a relationship with. She doesn't want to deal with a guy who is beneath her. She really wants a man to be above her. She wants a man to have more power, because that's how she feels secure in a man's leadership. Because if this man is making good money, if this man has a stable job, if this man has strong leadership skills and entrepreneurial skills, these are the things that attract women to men. And these are the things that make a woman want to be with a man. But when a man is out here being soft, sensitive, and feeling, then women aren't attracted to that guy, because that man is not somebody who she believes can be a proper provider or protector. He's somebody who just is really weak. And again, he's empowered. A lot of these women, they've gotten their empowerment from the government and from big business, but they don't really know how to do anything at all as related to relationships. They're looking for this good man, but the whole thing is running into a group of males. Well, I'm going to get ready to wrap up today's stream. I'm hoping you guys learned something about the true definition of a simp. I'm hoping that you learned what simping is all about, and I'm hoping you learned about what simping really is, because I really want to see this term used in its proper context, and I want to see it used the way it's meant to be used. I'm going to go into Luciano's question real quick. Do you think feminism has made men eliminate all of their consenting power in relationships? Yeah, I do think some of it is, and that's because they fear getting arrested, they fear getting prosecuted, so they look for the woman to submit to the woman in order to get consent. So that's what happens to a lot of these guys. That's true, Dominic, that a lot of women are confused. So you really can't go by what they say they want. You got to go by their actions. And I'm going to get ready to wrap up the stream. I thank everybody for coming out to the stream. And I really would appreciate it if you guys would pick up my books, John Haynes' Dark Succubus, Isis, All That Glitters, and Esteem Goddess Of, because I'm trying to get my fiction sales up. So I really would appreciate it if you guys would pick up my fiction books over on Amazon. And I would appreciate it if you guys would pick up The Man Crisis, because this book is going to show you a lot about the behaviors of guys out here. And if you guys can also pick up my book, Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance, on Amazon and Smashwords. Again, I thank you all for coming out to the stream, and I hope you pick up the books so that you can learn more about the simp paradigm and why it doesn't work. And I'm hoping that you can learn how to change course in your life if you are a simp, because you can break out of this paradigm if you learn to identify it and you learn the traits of a simp. The faster you break out of it, the better your life will be, and the better the quality of life you'll have, because you'll, instead of you attracting female predators, you'll start attracting great women and having great relationships with great people. I thank you all for coming to the stream, and I really hope you'll come back for the next one.